I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive.
Woke M&Ms have returned.
The power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
Green M&M got her boots back, but apparently is now a lesbian, maybe?
And now that we climbed the mountain, we get to name it. I think we should name it Shopify. Because to be honest, I couldn't have done it without Shopify. We just conquered Shopify.
And there's also a plus-sized, obese purple M&M.
Cyber is truly a joint warfare area.
Information warfare is it right now.
When the students first arrive here, we tell them, this is going to be hard. It might be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life.
I personally feel like if I'm not being challenged in life, then what's the point of doing what I'm doing?
Now watch this drive.
I sent you guys an Instagram coding post.
It's a good one.
It's been a minute.
Floated on the screen right now for everybody. It's a multi-page Instagram post.
Yeah, this is a bit of a book here, folks.
Oh, really?
What is it,
So
like 5 pages?
Instagram post, white background, black text, understand in cursive, and then in big green letters says oops. OOPS.
Understand oops.
With avatar. Understand oops with avatar. So there's a picture of I would say a beautiful Na'vi, feminine presenting. I think it's object oriented
programming.
Yeah, but what's the S?
Plural? There's multiple of them.
But it's capital S, so it's very confusing.
Page 2. White background, male Na'vi posing sexually. I really hit the ooh on that. And I don't know that I can't bring myself to believe that this is an actual screen grab from the film.
Is there a video game? Because it kind of looks like a video game thing.
I don't think there is an Avatar video game.
No. Well, he's hot, so that's all you need to know. And it does say relax.
Fuck yeah, he is.
Relax. No spoilers for part 2. Keep scrolling. So this is good. In case you're worried that this coding post is going to spoil.
So this is just a spacer right here. This is just filler.
Yeah, padding out the content because
now
they scroll
real
to
quick
the right once.
When you first shared this, so I flipped through, and this is when it finally dawned on me. Oh, this is a code one.
This is for programming.
Yeah.
It's like got it.
This is just so they get more clicks with the back and forth. That's what this is.
It's a good smart.
I like
the
double take farming. It's interesting to me because if you scroll to the right, you're already interested in learning oops with avatar, and so I don't think you need the content warning or like the assurance because your swiping does tell me that you were not too worried about it. Anyways, now I am kind of worried about it. I'm afraid that they're gonna sneak it in on me. I did the post doth protest too much about not spoiling Avatar 2. So the third slide, where we start to get into programming. Title: Polymorphism, H2, the ability to exist in many forms. Jake Sully existed as both Sky People, human, and Na'vi, Avatar. So you see that they're able to kind of share properties.
Mm-hmm.
They're able to be two things at once, potentially even more than one thing. So that's very interesting. That's good. So you know now you're learning. Do you feel like you're learning object-oriented programming because you know that polymorphism relates to the way that Jake got in his avatar body?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
I totally get it now.
Then. Next slide then.
Yeah. Yeah, that clears it up for me. I never knew. I never understood polymorphism until I saw that.
Yep.
Inheritance.
In fact, I didn't even know what polymorphism was a word until I saw this coding post.
I thought it was a Pokemon. Inheritance allows classes to inherit from parent class. Avatars.
No, this is a pretty easy one.
This one,
I have to admit.
This one's really annoying to me. Avatars are inheritance of Na'vi through neural link with few differences. No. You're wrong. You're wrong on two counts. You're wrong about that being how the avatar works in the film.
I've never actually seen Avatar. I know I'm a weirdo like that, but couldn't they have gotten a better example? I mean, isn't there any children with parents?
This is also an example. This is also an example of polymorphism.
Yeah, it's polymorphism. That's what this is.
This isn't actually inheritance. So it's
at all.
There's a tree, and there's you've got Jake, which is I guess the thing representing the neural link, which is just when you pilot the Na'vi body which or the fake Navi body, which if memory serves, is both Avatar and a little human DNA. That's why they got the extra fingy and finger. Please don't.
I didn't know what that was, so
I don't want you to put that in there because that's very ooh culture, and I now I'm worried that it won't come across as ironic. Which is, fuck it, it's fine. I don't care.
I'm very confused, having never seen these movies.
Yeah, and then it's basically a tree, and then they share properties in their child or whatever. Which once again,
it's fine. Yep.
All right. Fine, whatever. Inheritance, we're learning
Let's move
a lot.
on. Let's go to 3.
Encapsulation binds data and code in one unit. AWA represents a real neural network connecting all plant and animal life of Pandora.
Yeah, I don't know if this is really. I don't know.
The amount of work you have to do to make that make sense tells me that maybe you should have started with a different metaphor.
These are really bad metaphors.
Yeah, the first one was okay.
The first one is fine. Yeah,
it was okay.
Page 4.
Randy, since you've never seen the movie, let me just summarize it really quick, or just the idea that they're trying to get.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. You've seen The Matrix, right?
Yeah.
You know how like Neo plugs in and then he's like in the Matrix? Well, just imagine if you plugged in, but you're not Neo in the Matrix, you're a Navi.
Yeah, I kind of get, like, I've gathered enough just from my exposure to pop culture that it's like some sort of, you are like a glorified video game, but they're real people, right?
It's more like a persona, yeah. You're just a different persona.
The avatar, to my
it's not virtual though. It's not simulated. It's actually
no. Avatars are completely organic. They're grown. They just don't have consciousness. The consciousness is gained through the neural link.
The neural link, yeah.
Okay.
Elon Musk's
all right, cool.
Neural.
All right, have we moved on to 4?
We're on 4. Abstraction. Displaying only the important information, hiding the implementation part. This one actually, this is the closest one to being legit, because this is probably also the easiest idea to.
This is kind of the core of the movie, isn't it?
All we need to know, I guess, as the audience, is that the link, button, click, and sky people are linked to their avatars. So that's the actual science of it. How it is on the right side, it says how it's done is magic. Not every viewer wants to know it. But that's not object-oriented programming, though, is it? That's a different concept. This is a different concept from that. This is just the idea that you don't need to be in the weeds every time you're trying to do a common task that you perform multiple times.
That's abstraction. I mean, it's like concrete.
No. This is abstract.
That's like an abstract class, concrete class.
No, this is a decent. If that's how they're saying it, like abstract class and stuff, if they're actually trying to connect it more to object-oriented programming through that, instead of just the foundational programming concept of abstracting your code. This is a bad example then.
Okay, so how it's done is a magic? And not every viewer wants to know it?
Look, these aren't written by native English speakers, Randy. Let's not pick on the grammar.
Okay, all right.
Well, and also this is an interesting trick that posters will use, these content farms will use. They'll intentionally say things weird so that people pedantic people comment on it, and they're like, why is there an S in oop?
They just got Randy. Why is there no apostrophe in it's?
Well, it's good.
I mean, is a magic. Like,
last side. Enough programming stuff. Yeah, already?
We didn't even go over it.
It went so fast. And then it asks pose a question. Who is your favorite character from Avatar 1? No space between Avatar and the number 1. Also not the title of the film.
So interestingly, like, I would have expected that this would have been a little more, I guess, relevant. Like, it wouldn't have been from who's your favorite character from Avatar 1, I mean, is Avatar 2 actually out yet?
But they don't want people spoiling Avatar 2 in the comments.
I mean, I guess, but, okay.
I think it's already made $1 billion.
I agree that this is the weirdest part of this post, Carl. I absolutely agree that the fact
No, it's not the weirdest.
I
didn't say that. I'm just saying, like, it's
part of this post.
It is kind of weird, isn't it? I mean, the whole thing's weird.
Yeah.
No, Avatar 2, though, just a quick note. I was exposed to some TikTok critic or whatever, and he was like, the movie's fantastic. All the critical reviews are just raving about this movie. Mm-hmm. It's already made all its money back. It's like one of the highest earning movies already, and it hasn't even left the theaters. No one is talking about it. Like, no regular folks are talking about this movie. It's amazing.
Am I not a regular folk?
Have you seen it?
What?
Yes.
Have you seen it in the theater?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It was amazing.
This is the first I've heard that.
This is the first I've heard you talk about it.
This is the first I'm hearing of this.
When did you see it?
That's
this is the first I'm hearing this.
I saw it a few weeks ago, but this is
the first I've ever heard Drew talk about seeing Avatar 2.
That's what I'm saying.
And
I'm not trying to take anything away from the movie with that.
No, I'm trying to.
But it's kind of curious,
from these
because it's not memeable.
Yeah, there's something that was his point. There's something weird about this movie that no one is it the spoilers? Is it like something that happens or
you don't meme
perfection? It's just that like it's such a good movie that you don't need to add the extra layer of like.
That's kind of what he was implying.
Open sourcing it and grafting additional things onto it.
Grafting additional things on it. Sometimes those things just happen organically, though.
Yeah, but everyone just kind of assumes that everyone already knows about Avatar.
Organically, kind of like how you grow.
No. Hold on.
People.
Hold on.
I don't know what they're called.
We can't. You can't start the Avatar conversation.
I think it's Navi actually, but
it's good. It's good.
All right. Yeah, it's good. I'll watch it when it comes out on video.
Okay, does anyone know what the Trump card is on? Does anyone care?
Yeah, my card, I looked at it. My card is worth, supposedly, $459.18.
Are you kidding me? So it doubled in value since last week? Wow. All right, so the album on display is a giveaway. This is a pretty easy one for you guys.
That is Kendrick Lamar.
Who's that?
You going to name the album? Or
it's Damn.
That's called, Damn. That would be Damn by Kendrick Lamar.
The four letters that are prominently displayed.
What's your favorite track on that album?
DNA. I know that's like the single, but I love that track.
That is
I love
such
the
a
drop
good song.
in that track. I love blasting that in my car when that drop hits and
so
scaring the shit out of my kid.
It is so good. That whole album
image is really good.
Amazing.
It is. The first time I showed it to him, he's like, "You got to hear this," and then he's like, "Whatever." And
check
then
this shit out. Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah, it's such a good album. Honestly, I haven't really heard anything by Kendrick that I don't like.
I'm a big
he's
fan.
Great. He's great.
He's just really good. Do you guys know anything about the drama with him? Like why people are like the king? There's like this whole King Kendrick diss tracks and stuff like that. Do you know anything about that?
No.
I don't know. Any rapper that's doing well, I think there's always diss tracks.
Yeah,
right?
I think he might have said something though, or he maybe
I know a lot of
stuff about
his most
people.
recent album has a lot of like people interpreting it as like anti-trans and stuff, but I don't think they're really listening to the lyrics.
He said the F word on it.
Yeah, and like that whole track about his his aunt that was a man and transitioned.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the fact that he refers to her as her and his aunt. I mean, come on, let's.
Yeah.
People, some
inability
cultures
to
are not
critically consume art. Like, it's being like taking intent out of it, taking like any type of. It's just they broke the AI content moderation tool in my head.
I mean, just the fact that he's again referring to his aunt as his aunt, I think you could probably put him safely in like the ally, space.
Yep. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, the guy is like
people that aren't supportive,
born and raised in Compton. Like, what do you want from
that
people that aren't supportive are not doing that. They're not like using the proper or preferred pronouns or terms. They're not doing that. That's just,
or dead naming and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about furries.
Let's talk about furries. All right.
So you may, listener, I certainly hope you've heard that the no-fly list has been hacked. Folks, check if you're on it. You're just kidding. You can't. It's limited release. You can get it if you're a journalist or a researcher. If you haven't heard, what happened was somebody who we'll get into, they're incredible, did find an exposed Jenkins server, which is a CI/CD server that people often self-host or often leave exposed to the internet. And they were using a tool called Shodan, which is a tool that a lot of hacker types will use to kind of scan and search for these types of vulnerabilities. The most common search term currently, I believe, is the word WordPress. So
the word what?
That's WordPress.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
So that's stop using
most attacked content management system on the planet.
Take note.
Yeah, and who wants to learn PHP? Who wants to learn PHP? Not me.
No, it's a messy language, but whatever.
It's a dead language. It's basically Latin. Unless you use Laravel, that's a good
Laravel. That's
good tech.
Yeah,
that's good tech. They got in through this server and they found that they did not have super ultra access. You may have noticed that my face is turned almost completely pink, and that's because I pulled up the website that I was reading from earlier. This is the This is the website of the hacker who did the hack. This is their more technical write-up. There's also an entry in the Daily Dot, who is the first reputable journalist to bite on this, it seems like.
Did you sync your LEDs to?
Yeah, it looks like they're synced.
Not intentionally. Not intentionally, but I'm in it.
Not only is your face pink, but the whole room is pink.
Listen, Carl, when I'm in a topic, I'm in it. I'm all the way in it. The name that she goes by is Maya. She got into a check-in server that belonged to a regional airline out of Ohio called Commute Air. When she got in there, she did not have like total root access to everything, but she did have access to about 70 different build jobs. I don't know if that's the actual number of repositories or she was able to get into a lot of build files. So not, I don't think the source code, but the actual output files. And from there, she was able to find a lot of very interesting things. One of them was AWS credentials that were just in a config file that was committed to one of the repositories that made its way through. And they were pretty high up credentials. She got access to all sorts of databases, and if she wanted to, probably the ability to change shit and move shit around.
I'm downright shocked that
it's incredible
that any of these airports are using AWS, any sort of cloud-based server architecture.
I'm not surprised.
I am.
Do you think that they'd be older? I mean, well, with the United Airlines shit, I don't know. They're apparently.
I mean, I did ETCOTS training, air traffic control, FAA training, and yeah, I'm shocked.
Well, this is what they get for modernizing.
But here's the thing, though, that this is being distributed probably by the United States government, so their access, I would assume, this is a centralized list that's distributed to each airline.
I would think that that's what happens, but it's under seal, or it's, you have to have special
certain creds or whatever to get in.
Creds, right? How amateur and rudimentary this stuff is really incredible.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Just being able to scan through the build files that were exposed on the server and find credentials in there, really cool. It just takes a little bit of patience, which she actually mentions.
Another surprise is that this hasn't leaked out prior, because there's so many people that touch this type of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So many people would be exposed.
3 developers. It's an airline. It's a small regional.
Yeah. Another thing is why would an airline necessarily need access to this when it's really the responsibility of the TSA?
Well, so in this case, getting to the actual no-fly list, so she gets more and more access. She's realizing how much access she has more and more. And she comes across a set of projects called No-Fly Comparison and No-Fly Comparison V2. And she says that what these seem to be doing, these projects, is comparing the no-fly list to their employee records and making sure that their employees have not found their way onto the no-fly list.
Oh, so this is a whole other usage of the no-fly list.
Yeah, this is for their
just making sure
employees.
That there's no one infiltrating, no people doing black hattery and getting into their ranks to do nefarious deeds.
Oh, interesting.
This is very interesting, yeah. I could totally see that.
Yeah,
why
I could see that being kind of useful, actually.
Yeah, this is beyond the TSA at this point. These are airlines trying to make sure that they weed out the bad ones. Yeah.
So I am interested to know if this is a thing that they
pilots or anything like that either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sure that this is something that they're mandated by the TSA to do, but the
Probably,
TSA does not offer a solution to do this.
Yeah, if you're on the no-fly list, you can't work for an airline, even if it's in some admin capacity. You just can't because you'd have access to too many things.
They're pushing the responsibility of that check onto the airlines themselves.
Oh God, yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
So this is Commute Air out of Ohio's solution, is to just apparently have a server that you can store the no-fly list, the confidential no-fly list, in an S3 bucket, creds for which you have committed to a repository that is exposed to hackers.
I mean, FDA approval is up to Pfizer, it's the companies themselves that make sure the drugs are safe. They're the ones who are responsible for paying.
Once again,
and
an incredible example of how great that works.
Yeah, it's just absurd how much we put on corporations and just kind of trust them to do the thing. Yeah, it's just absurd.
She got into that project, and it seemed she got kind of discouraged because she didn't think that she'd actually be able to find it, because poking around in the folders, they didn't seem to have the actual files there. They were being deleted after the comparison, which that's good practice. She did, however, find a test folder. And would you believe that the test data for the test they were running that they also committed to the repository was the actual no-fly list from 2018.
That's great.
It's amazing.
That is great.
It's that is such a specific and relatable thing to see happen, because you hear about that shit all the time. You hear about companies who, to seed your local database, they just give you live data that includes PII. Insane.
There's jokes about that. Like I saw a TikTok video, these two developers messing around and working on some app, and they were giving customer data, and it's like, we can't use this. It's that guy, he always does like the CEO, he always does the Elon Musk impression.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he
like,
tours.
We can't work on this, but it's so beautiful. Real user data, it's so beautiful. It's so varied and complex.
It has typos, and it has
invalid
exactly.
It's the best thing we could possibly work with. It's like, it's illegal to work with this.
the forbidden test data is production data. Is it just a table dump?
But it does look beautiful.
Yeah, that is nice. That is nice.
So good on Maya.
Maya is what she goes by, and she just getting down to, so she found a few years old version of the no-fly list. So she reported it to the journalist, who then reported it to Commute Air. So nothing was published until they were able to get it taken down. But better fucking believe that she kept the no-fly list, and awesome. That she is making it available by request through partnership, I think, with another organization, to researchers and journalists.
I guess, why though?
Because she's awesome?
No, I mean,
she fucking kicks ass?
No.
Like, why didn't she bury it? Because the no-fly list is bad.
Why?
It's racist.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be racist. I mean, it could be racist.
So the Daily Dot, which is an article that I also sent you, which you clearly did not read.
I did. No, I read it. I'm just saying, like, so many people are on no-fly lists. It doesn't. I mean, I could totally see there's a bias towards, obviously, probably minorities and whatnot.
This is extremely important data for researchers and for journalists, because it helps us understand something that has largely been opaque for us for a long time, which is, because we know it exists, but this is nothing like this has ever been seen. So they're actually seeing what kind of stuff goes on there. And of course, there's people that you don't want on a plane, right? Like, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But looking at the actual data, it seems like it's mostly not, if you can believe it, white people that are on the no-fly list. It's mostly people of Arabic descent, Middle Eastern descent, and people of Russian descent.
Yeah,
which I guess those are white people. But it's, you know what I mean? It's like these very specific, like, targeted. And there's somebody on it that is as young as 8 years old.
Oh,
so it's probably like a child of someone.
Yeah.
Maybe. Who knows? Who fucking knows? We don't know, because it's completely obscured from us.
To an extremely less degree, this is the type of action that Edward Snowden did. Obviously, Edward Snowden did way more, with
I guess
his
I just
leaks
don't...
and his NSA leaks. But this type of stuff is a worthwhile effort to expose, to make transparent what is being obscured from us.
Yeah, what is the problem with making this public?
Exactly.
Because
we have a no-fly list.
I guess my
why shouldn't we be able to identify it? Especially
if you're saying that's a dangerous person, then why shouldn't I also
especially
know?
in this age of, like, you go to the airport and you're like, if you see a suspicious blah 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 blah, it's like, well, why don't we just have a no-fly list? Like, give me the names, give me the faces, let me recognize these people.
My main reason would be that if the no-fly list was public, then those that are on the no-fly list would then know about it, and maybe there's, you don't want them to know about it for some whatever reason, because
I don't want them to.
Because then they're not going to go to an airport at all. Whereas,
great.
But if they did go to the airport, they maybe they could be apprehended if they needed to be.
Nope, I don't even want them to enter.
I don't know, man. I don't think that all
you trust the fucking TSA to catch that shit.
I just don't think that all information needs to be public all the time. I'm not saying that that a lot of information needs to be.
How do we?
I don't think something like this needs to be public. I also don't think that the average person is going to study the no-fly list to the point where they're going to be like, oh, there's the guy on the no-fly list.
So here's another thing that's very interesting. How many people do you think are on that list?
I mean, I'd probably say
10,000.
Yeah, I'd probably say like a couple. Well, yeah, either thousands or hundreds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how many people you think are on the no-fly list.
I mean, it's probably like 100.
It's way higher than that. I know. I read it.
Okay. Yeah. I want to tell you what we've been told estimates by the government, which is that the no-fly list had 81,000 people on it, no more than that, as of 2016. And this list, it is a lot of people. The actual number is 1.9 million.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but
crazy.
But how many of those people, like, do they update the list when people die?
How many of those people don't deserve to be on the list, Carl? That's why it needs to be public.
I mean, how many more deserve to be on the list? I don't fucking know. I'm just.
This is the only way that you could fight against this, though, and the abuse of this system.
Is by knowing.
It's by exposing it. Yeah.
The question is not, are they doing a good job? The question is, why don't we get to know about what you're doing?
Exactly.
And like, why do I trust these fucking people?
And don't get me wrong, I do think some government secrets are probably worthwhile to keep, like some clandestine things or, things that like nuclear.
Yeah, but
codes
that's all case by case basis with proper like oversight and regulation, which is not what we have.
But something like this is literally so easy to abuse. Like you could have somebody working for the TSA, high up in the TSA, that puts their ex-wife on the no-fly list just because they want to be a dick.
Yeah, well, and think about how many like you could put protesters on it, prevent them from like being able to organize cross country. Like you can
Sure. Yeah.
And why wouldn't they fucking do that? And
union organizers.
Yeah.
Yeah. No doubt about it.
It is a dangerous tool that they have, and I don't even know how long has it even existed.
I don't know, probably since the Department of Homeland Security started. So
yeah. You think
2001?
I'd say it would be earlier than that.
Oh yeah, well the no-fly list in general, I think, has existed for a long time.
Yeah.
Probably since the airlines, probably since the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's probably really grew after,
Yeah, but that's where I was going with the number of entries that are on it. I doubt
people get removed.
I doubt it's curated.
The no-fly
list should be though.
The no-fly list was a consequence of 9/11.
Okay, there's nothing before that?
Before the attacks of September 11, 2001, the U.S. federal government had a list of 16 people deemed no transport because they presented a specific known or suspected threat to aviation.
But it should be curated, because I have heard stories of people being put on this list in an unfair way and then trying to fight to get off, and there was no mechanism to remove yourself.
Yeah,
it was
because you're not even allowed to know you're fucking on it.
Yeah. Well,
unless you're
suspicious that they were
until you're apprehended at the airport.
Yeah, you're on it when you don't get to get on a plane.
That's the TSA turned them away.
But that's still
reason.
It's this extremely
they couldn't share any reason. Yeah,
that severely limits freedom of movement without due process or due cause. It limits one of your what is easily a constitutional right. It does it completely under the hood of darkness, and it's only been going on for 20 years in the aftermath.
The list. I understand where you're coming from with the due process thing, and yes, I'm sure a large portion of the people on that list that applies to, but there are a lot of people on that list that it doesn't apply to. Not that it shouldn't.
I would say there's probably at least 16 of that's 1.6 million.
There's a bit of a minority report.
There's at least 16. There's at least 16 of the 1.6 million. At least
there's
one.
A bit of a minority report approach to this, which is a lot of people that make this list are presumed guilty before they've actually even committed a crime.
Yeah,
and that's kind of a messed up way, especially in a country that's supposed to have due process and supposed to, innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, why can't they also have a no drive list that's secret?
Yeah, but there are. I'm sure there's a lot of people on that list that are like, known to be Al Qaeda members or something like that. Stuff like that. I'm not saying that it's the majority. I'm just saying that there probably are. Obviously, I agree with you though, as far as like the mechanisms and whatnot, and not knowing if you're on it until like basically you can't get on a plane. You can't fight it if you're wrongfully put on there. You have no idea what the reason is that you're put on there. Like obviously that those are problems.
Even the Al Qaeda people though, this is I'm not going to get any fans whatsoever. What I'm about to say, but
you'll keep me.
16-year-old kid gets pulled into the cult of Al Qaeda because his father was blown
because an FBI agent
American
sent
bombs,
him a cold message on Instagram
or the recruitment or what have you. Are we hoping to help these people? Are we hoping to deprogram these 12-year-old kids that are picking up AK-47s or whatever? Or are we just dooming them to, that's it? You're going to end up blowing something up or killing.
I would say like as a country, we're dooming them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And that our approach to that is like before you even have a chance to do anything. And this is true in like almost any enemy combatant where we have like child soldiers in South Africa or whatever, and we just doom them. It's the same thing with how the anti-woke thing, I can see where they're coming from in some ways. Like in my community, in some of the Facebook groups, how they pounce on some right-leaning person for saying something that might be deemed incorrect or non-PC or whatever. And they just destroy this person and they start calling their employer because they said something leaning toward racist or whatever. It's like, where do you think that person's going to go after that experience?
Yeah.
They're going to be radicalized. They're going to be like fucking crazy. Like, they're going to be,
personally,
because they're going to, like Kyle Rittenhouse, they're going to run into the arms of the embrace of the alt-right and just be absolutely nuts. It's the same thing with like these terrorist cells and what have you. And I'm not saying that we should tolerate intolerance and all that stuff. And I know that's a slippery slope, and I know like that's how you introduce fascism and stuff. But there's a difference. We should consider this. We should be mindful of these types of things.
If there's somebody that you assume is not doing it intentionally, like there's a certain point where it's like, okay, you're irredeemable and you're just a piece of shit and nothing. Like I can't win you over, so I'm gonna opt to ignore you or fuck with you. And,
like some PetSmart's employees.
Yeah. And then there's people that are fucking stupid. They're not aware of certain things. Sure, they've got the same biases and shit that we
like
all
some
have.
PetSmart employees.
Yeah. But
exactly.
Mostly those people are fundamentally apolitical. Like they play the sports ball politics of it, but they don't have like a coherent ideology. And what I see that as a blank canvas. You can paint on it a masterpiece, but if you kick the canvas, then it's gonna be garbage forever.
That's not true. Art is subjective. You could actually put that up, and someone might love it.
The son of the founder of Stormfront, that website, the neo-Nazi website, fascist neo-Nazi website.
Yeah,
he went to a really good state university, and he got indoctrinated. He's now a liberal. Yeah, it's like these people are not done for. Logic, I mean, this guy was raised with the founder of Stormfront. Like his dad was a straight up Nazi, like not even running away from the term. He was like, I'm a fucking Nazi, you know? And he went like all the way until he was, 17, 18 years old. And then he went away to college and totally changed his mind. There's this really long, I think it was a Radiolab podcast episode or whatever about that very story. And it's so fascinating.
Yeah, I would love to hear like that whole process. Or
he's like, I met my roommate. I think his roommate was a black guy, and he's like, I hated him right off the bat because he's black. And then all of a sudden, he's like invited me to parties. No one else was. I was like, oh, maybe this guy isn't so bad. And then he started having conversations, and before you know it, within like a year or two, he completely transformed his entire perspective of the world because these guys aren't
because he experienced
all the people
world.
He was meeting. Yeah, he's like, these people aren't evil at all. My dad is full of shit.
Yeah.
My dad and all his friends, because that was like his entire world until he was like 17, 18.
It's tough. I was raised in a very conservative, evangelical, Republican, right-wing household. And it wasn't really until high school that I started being like, well, wait a minute, hold on. There's a lot of contradiction in this shit. No. What were we talking about?
We were talking about the furries.
Maya is also a member of the furry community. I didn't realize how much of a stronghold the furry community had made in tech. Big tech, small tech, every tech, white hat, black cat, white cat, like all of the different verticals. First of all, can we become furries? And what would your persona be?
I don't think it's for me.
But if you had a gun to your head.
Gun to my head? I mean, obviously, if the gun's to my head, I'll do it. But I don't know.
Here's my honest opinion, though. Wouldn't that be hot?
What would my animal be?
It's very hot.
I don't know. Maybe like a fox or something like that.
I could see it. 100%.
Yeah,
what would your name? What would your like persona and name be?
I mean, it'd probably just be my. I'm not gonna dox myself here, but my it'd be
Ginger Fox.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah,
hell yeah. Randy.
I doxed him.
Yeah, thank you, Randy.
We have a video version now. They know.
I have a penchant for birds. Is there bird furries? Is that a thing? Probably, right?
They're not really furry though.
They're called featheries.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. Though, I mean, it's animals. So
I think it's generally
why are you guys taking this away from me? Why are you taking this away from me?
You can be whatever you want, Randy.
You're right.
Just be whatever
Peregrine
you want.
falcon.
A peregrine
cool
falcon.
That's cool as shit.
It is pretty cool.
What about you, Drew?
Oh, that's not really for me.
Drew's a min pin.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd probably be a min pin. That's for sure. And my name would be
perfect.
Parson.
Parson.
Drew, you're saying like it kind of surprises you. It doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, with the overlap of kind of geek culture, quote unquote, with comic books and video games and furries and everything and tech, it's all one big mixing pot.
Yeah, there used to be this
melting pot.
There used to be this flow chart on the internet. Probably still exists. I mean, it's on the internet. It still exists. That flow chart of how nerdy you are. You know, it starts at watching a show, then it goes into like writing fanfic for a show, then it's cosplay, and then like cosplay is one step away from furry. To Randy's point, you know, it's all in that nerddom, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me. You know, and most of those types of people are you know, pretty into tech, I would say.
The break for me, or the line of demarcation to me, is people who don't just consume content but create content as well. And furries are like falling squarely in the create and consume category. I mean, they're creating their characters. They're part of the content creation, you know, and that just invites like a mind that would be, you know, involved in tech and whatever.
I also feel that like since the internet, you know, the beginning days of the internet or chat rooms, right? The early days of chat rooms and stuff, that would be somewhat of a lonely existence, you know, I feel, for the most part. So getting into the computer scene and being able to find like-minded individuals through chat rooms and forums or video games and stuff like that lends itself to that tech mindset as well.
Just the fact that you navigated into that forum, you know.
Now, what I will say that I found very surprising, and I'm extremely happy to hear, is how accepting a lot of these companies that have, you know, furry communities or a lot of furry members are. You know, I've seen
they were all laid off though just recently.
Sure, I was reading that article and it was
an activist investor sent the letter to Sundar. He said,
like,
you got to fire all these furries. They freak me out. I don't know. I don't like it.
Especially those guys.
Yeah. But the fact that in the article, at least one, I think it was one or two, are able to wear their, you know, their costume. I don't know if it's a costume. Is it still called it? Yeah. Is it called a costume?
Fursuit.
If the fursuit, you know, they're allowed to wear that at work, and you know, and they don't get any gripe about it, you know, I think is really cool. I think that's pretty accepting, you know, which is awesome. I feel like if there was more of that for everything, you know.
Do you think that counts as business casual?
No.
It's smart business.
I'm honestly, you know, to be completely honest though, obviously the company itself is accepting, you know, because they have to be, right? They don't want to get sued for something.
Or that these people are doing labor and they're like,
sure, whatever. Right. But there's still people over there that probably like are disgusted by this kind of stuff, right? Like other employees. And what that rules,
that's awesome to think about. It's really funny.
No, but
people just angrily fuming because they're sitting. They have to sit next to a.
Well, I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this one step further, and there's people that are so mad that I'm really surprised that there haven't been any like weird lawsuits about how there's naked animals, you know, sitting in the office. Like, why don't these anthropomorphic animals have to wear pants? How come they don't have to wear a suit and a tie?
God. You just gave them the idea.
I know,
Carly.
right?
You just gave them the idea.
I know. I'm just curious. Like, has that happened?
Take that to court.
That's going to be the next. That's going to be the next baker or website designer.
I'm going to be the defense here because
I'm not trying. Wait,
you can put on a fursuit at any time.
Yeah,
you also have access to this privilege.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to make light of the situation or anything like that. But seriously, there's like weird.
It's funny.
People. It is funny, but there's weird people with like weird thought processes like that. And if we're supposed to be equal in the office environment, right? Like we've had silly arguments about like how come men can't wear sandals but girls can, you know, women can. You know, or we've had these things in our own company, or shorts versus skirts, or you know, you can't wear sleeveless shirts, but you know, women can wear like tank tops or dresses. So you know,
fursuit is clothes, Your Honor.
Just
fur is
I'm
clothes.
Just saying that there's a lot of things that they put in handbooks to try and make things as equal as possible. Like, I mean, we actually got a lot of updates to our handbook because of that. So I could see somebody making an argument like, how come this guy gets to you know, wear this fursuit and I have to wear a suit and a tie, or I have to wear khakis.
You can also wear the fursuit. You can also wear the fursuit, sir.
Yeah, I know.
We can't wear fursuits though because it aggravates the dogs at PetSmart.
Yeah. Either way, I'd really be surprised if something like that hasn't been brought up to like HR, and what would HR?
It's probably not.
How can you imagine HR's response to that? They're like, yeah, I have a problem with Kiki Fun Pants.
It's probably not prevalent enough to really have
but
that.
Can you imagine?
Yet.
Can you imagine the discussion though? Like, and what is your problem? Yeah, how come they can just walk around in a fur costume with no pants on? Like, would you rather they had pants on? Well, really, I'd rather they just didn't wear the fursuit.
Exactly.
But if they have to wear the fursuit, can't they at least put pants on? Are they as accepting of a fursuit if it has anatomy? If it has like genitalia? Are they that accepting, or is that
like
different?
if you put, you're saying if they put
a dog cock on it, like if it's a dog.
If they put nuts on the fursuit, so you're saying
like a chapstick.
If you're trying to be anatomically somewhat correct.
Oh, okay, all right.
I'm not trying to pick on it. I'm just curious. Like, there's so many questions I have. They're weird questions.
I don't know any furries. I really don't.
I'm sure you do.
I know of one, but I haven't had the discussions with them.
WeDoCrime.com/voicemail. Let's bring them on. Come on, give us some furry content.
No, it's interesting to me, and like I said, to go back to what I originally said, I am really glad that these big tech companies are as accepting as they are about it. I do wish that more companies were more accepting about it. And honestly, if a company like Microsoft or Google can allow someone to come in a furry outfit and work and code and do stuff, why can't any of these other companies?
They might be able to. I don't think it's the percentages. I don't think
Kroger's allowing anybody. I don't think Kroger's hiring any furry bag people.
Good point.
Or bag.
I don't know. I think this might be an Airbud. This might be an Airbud situation. Show me the rules. Show me. I just don't think anyone's tried it.
The NBA doesn't allow mascots to play. Okay, come on. Like, it's
because
just
they're all bad. But if
halftime,
they are not bad.
What? They do flips and
stuff. A lot of them are good.
I meant Michael Jackson bad.
I'm just saying, like,
good recovery.
There's big corporations that could definitely allow it, and they're not really doing anything about it.
Let's move on.
We can move on.
I feel like we're having to cut a bunch of this, so maybe we should just try to stretch and do the Tesla article.
I'm going to be honest with you. That is the most boring fucking article I've read in a long time.
You're not seeing its potential.
Like, what's so exciting about it? It's not exciting. Okay, Elon Musk's shit Elon Musk's shit is doing worse than he says it is. No kidding.
No, but there's specific.
No, I think there's well beyond Elon Musk though. That article, as far as like automated driving, driverless technology and stuff like that, the article doesn't even touch on the fact that all of this talk, all of this fully automated vehicles, autopilot and what have you, doesn't cover the fact that we already have this with trains. Like, why are we doing all this? Like, this helping mankind and the utilitarian approach. And
because people like their cars, Randy.
It's a crock of shit. People love public transit. You
can't get a train from your house to the grocery store.
Yeah, you could. Yes, you could. If your infrastructure was set up that way. Japanese people love their trains. They absolutely love them. And they would never do without them.
No, that's true.
They've invested in that infrastructure, and it's way safer, way faster, way more efficient. Like,
way
who wouldn't want to sit?
Neutral.
Who wouldn't want to just sit there and like on your laptop and blast through the countryside?
Obviously, people that love to feel the engine purr and that live their life a quarter mile at a time, Randy.
Like, we're talking, which is fine, but we're just talking about like heading to Chicago in a couple of days.
Yeah.
And there's a snowstorm that's about to hit probably tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's not going to stop that high-speed train.
Well, we don't have a high-speed train.
Anybody can go. Boom, there.
Yeah.
Faster than a car, faster than a plane, probably, because you have to go through the TSA and the check-in and all that other crap.
Mm-hmm.
It's
soft
like,
target, yeah.
Why? Why wouldn't we want to do that?
Because we love our cars.
Because we've allowed Henry Ford to completely destroy our country.
Yeah.
This is an article titled Elon Musk's Appetite for Destruction. It's by Christopher Cox. It's released by the New York Times. And we've reduced it for size. For a company that depended on an unbounded sense of optimism among investors to maintain its high stock price, Tesla was at one point worth more than Toyota, Honda, Volkswagen, Mercedes, BMW, Ford, and General Motors combined. These crashes might seem like a problem, referring to the Tesla crashes. But to Elon Musk, Tesla's chief executive, you know him, you love him, they presented an opportunity. Each collision generated data, and with enough data, the company could speed the development of the world's first truly self-driving car. He believed in this vision so strongly that it led him to make wild predictions. Quote, my guess as to when we would think it is safe for somebody to essentially fall asleep and wake up at their destination, probably toward the end of next year. And he
Like
said
a
that in
train.
2019. Said that in 2019. But yes, much like a train. I would say I'm
Or
certain of
even
that.
a bus.
That is not a question mark. Again, that prediction did not come to pass 4 years ago. On May 29th, 2018, a 2015 Tesla Model S was driving Dave Key home from the dentist in autopilot mode. It was a route that Key had followed countless times before, a 2-lane highway leading up into the hills above Laguna Beach, California. But on this trip, while Key was distracted, the car drifted out of its lane and slammed into the back of a parked police SUV, spinning the car around and pushing the SUV up onto the sidewalk. No one was hurt. So getting off to a really strong start. Key is a 69-year-old former software entrepreneur. He took a dispassionate engineer's eye view of his own accident. Quote, the problem with stationary objects, I'm sorry, this sounds stupid, is that they don't move. He said,
I mean, he's
for
not
years,
wrong. I get what he's saying.
For years, Tesla's artificial intelligence has had trouble separating immobile objects from the background. That seems like a really important point that you're right. Rather than feeling frustrated that the computer hadn't figured out such a seemingly elementary problem.
You know who also has that problem? Wile E. Coyote.
That's right. Yeah, your Tesla is no smarter than a Looney Tunes villain. Antihero, I would say, actually.
Yeah, beautiful man.
Rather than feeling frustrated that the computer hadn't figured out such a seemingly elementary problem, Key took comfort in learning that there was a reason behind the crash, a known software limitation, rather than some kind of a black swan event. That's weird. Last fall, I asked Key to visit the scene of the accident with me. He said he would do me one better. He would take me there using Tesla's new full self-driving mode, also called FSD, which was still in beta. I told Key that I was surprised he was still driving a Tesla, much less paying extra. FSD now costs $15,000 for new autonomous features. If my car had tried to kill me, I would have switched brands. But in the months and years after his Model S was totaled, he bought 3 more. We met for breakfast at a cafe in Laguna Beach, about 3 miles from the crash site. He was particularly concerned that I understand that autopilot and FSD were saving lives. Quote, the data shows that their accident rate while on beta is far less than other cars. Cap, we'll get to it. 1 bullet point read in 11-point calibre. Slowing down the FSD beta will result in more accidents and loss of life based on hard statistical data. Cap.
Hard.
We finished breakfast and walked to the car. What?
Hard statistical data.
Hard. Yeah, this is not
Just
flaccid.
that term. Yeah. It's not
the bell
flaccid.
curve is long
It
and
is
tall.
hard statistical data. Foreshadowing.
We finished breakfast. The thick bell curve on this one. We finished breakfast and walked to the car. Key had hoped to show off the newest version of FSD, but his system hadn't updated yet. Elon said it would be released at the end of the week. Well, it's Sunday. Key didn't want to talk about Musk, but the executive's reputational collapse had become impossible to ignore. The question was already suggesting itself. How do you explain Elon Musk? People are flawed, Keith said cautiously, before repeating a sentiment that Musk often said about himself. If partisans on both sides hated him, he must be doing something right. No matter what trouble Musk got himself into, Key said, he was honest, truthful to his detriment. I want to pause there, because that is the most batshit 4 lines I have heard, but it's something that you do hear a lot. If everyone hates you, you must be right.
Yep.
No.
No, the opposite.
Everyone hates Hitler. Okay, never mind. Most don't anymore.
Wait, whoa.
Not Nick Fuentes or Yay.
Yeah, I was just going to say a lot of nowadays not many people. It used to be that everyone hated Hitler, but
for people who care, who pretend to care and know so much about statistics, what a wild conclusion to draw from that data.
Yeah.
As we drove, Key compared
it's a narcissist point of view, right? Yeah. I mean, right.
Well, I mean, it is. I'm
perspective.
Basically I'm smarter. It's just saying I'm smarter than everyone else, and people.
Yeah, if the left hates me and the right hates me, then
it's because that is
everyone.
It's a bit of a cult, you know. It's the whole futurism cult. They believe Elon is their leader.
Well,
I can kind of see their point in some instances. I mean, you can continue, but we'll get to it. But at the same time, it's like I don't know. It's a cult.
It's
yeah. It's definitely a cult.
As we drove, Key compared FSD in the version of autopilot on his 2015 Tesla. Autopilot, he said, was like fancy cruise control. Speed, steering, crash avoidance. Though in his case, he said, I guess it didn't do crash avoidance. That's pretty good, Dave. He had been far more impressed by FSD. It was able to handle just about any situation he threw at it. My only real complaint is it doesn't always select the lane that I would. After a minute, the car warned Key to keep his hands on the wheel and eyes on the road. Tesla now is kind of a nanny about that, he complained. If autopilot was once dangerously permissive of inattentive drivers, allowing them to nod off behind the wheel, even that flaw, like the stationary object bug, also awesome. Also an amazing way to describe your car slamming into an SUV is the stationary object bug.
It's a bug.
Even that flaw, like the stationary object bug, had been fixed. Between the steering wheel and the eye tracking, that's just a solved problem, Key said.
Is it?
No, it's not. We'll get to that too. We parked at the spot where he hit the police SUV 4 years earlier. There was nothing special about the road here. No strange lines, no confusing lane shift, no merge. Just a single lane of traffic running along a row of parked cars. Why the Tesla failed at that moment was a mystery. No, it's because the SUV was standing still.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently. Eventually, Key told FSD to drive us back to the cafe. As we started our left turn, though, the steering wheel spasmed and the brake pedal juddered. Key muttered a nervous, okay. After another moment, the car pulled halfway across the road and stopped. A line of cars was bearing down on our broadside. Key hesitated a second, but then quickly took over and completed the turn. It probably could have been accelerated, but I wasn't willing to cut it that close, he said. If he was wrong, of course, there's a good chance that he would have had his second AI-caused accident on the same 1 mile stretch of road. Good demo. Good demo. Everyone's favorite thing to happen in a demo is to almost get killed by oncoming traffic. 3 weeks before Key hit the police SUV, Musk wrote an email to Jim Riley, whose son Barrett died after his Tesla crashed while speeding. Musk sent Riley his condolences, and the grieving father wrote back to ask whether Tesla software could be updated to allow an owner to set a maximum speed for the car, along with other restrictions on acceleration, access to the radio in the trunk, and distance the car could drive from home. Musk, while sympathetic, replied, if there are a large number of settings, it will be too complex for most people to use. I want to make sure that we get this right. Most good for most number of people.
What
a psychopath!
I kind of see where he's coming from, but at the same time, those are some cool ideas.
Most good for most people is a freaking train.
No,
But that is insane.
Sure, but even though like those settings ideas, those are great ideas.
You can't make enough money on a bullet train as you can selling 100, 200, or a million Teslas. That's the only reason. He doesn't care about most good for most people.
The fact that
he cares
that was
about
the
most
response,
profit for him.
Well,
even
he's
if you
talking
believe
about
that,
most
the fact
good,
that
but he's talking about most good for most people from his product. Obviously, he's not talking.
His product
about,
is absolutely inferior.
It doesn't matter. He's not talking about for like what's better than electric cars.
Yes, he thinks that. Yes, he is. He thinks that is what he's talking about. He 100% has drunk his own Kool-Aid on that. Like he believes that self-driving cars will reduce accidents, and therefore it's okay that the stuff.
That's not what I just said. I was saying that. Well, Randy's saying that trains are better than cars, and I'm saying Elon Musk is saying what's better for most. Within his product, like
that is the consequence of this. When he speaks, he believes in his own long-termist ideals. He believes that his projects are about saving
I understand that, but he's not comparing it to a bullet train.
No, of course not, because the bullet train will win every single time. Of course,
yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Like, I understand, like, his car, in the realm of cars, that his car will save lives, but he's not thinking outside of that realm.
To be such a futurist and to be such an egalitarian or whatever he wants to assume he is, he's overlooking the most obvious thing that's right in front of him.
Bullet trains.
Yeah. High-speed rail, yeah.
Honestly, coupled with if Elon Musk got on the bullet train thing, I would not trust bullet trains. Like, if I'm not kidding. Like, anything that man touches, like, is a dumpster fire. Twitter's a dumpster fire. Tesla's a dumpster fire. I mean, SpaceX is probably sort of okay. Anything he touches is turns to shit.
I think that his ideology here, what it actually translates to when you're the grieving father who gives this message is, I'm sorry that your son wasn't a member of the select, preordained, chosen ones to come with me into our promised future, but his sacrifice will not be in vain. Like this affect of basically being a president who's calling the next of kin of some soldier that got killed. It's nuts. Like this is just really, really absurd. And
I guess like why reach out to the family member if you're not looking to make any changes? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like that was kind of strange. Like it was really weird in the article because they're just like, yeah, this is really interesting. Like Elon actually called this man, you know, to talk to him about it. But then when the man was like, yeah, is there anything that we can do about this? And Elon's like, no, there's nothing. And there's nothing that could have saved your son.
The article mentions
freak accident.
The article mentions that it's a freak accident that was the result of bad software. And
unfortunately, your son was one of our worst beta testers, so
yeah,
we had to let him go.
So it actually talks about how it is unusual, of course, for somebody to do that, to reach out directly, and because even if they wanted to, they probably wouldn't for legal reasons.
Yep.
And it should be noted, Jim Riley is now suing, is one of the plaintiffs. This exchange was entered into evidence.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
But what looks like self-obsession and poor impulse control might instead be the fruits of a coherent philosophy, one that Musk has detailed on many occasions. It's there in the email to Riley: the greatest good for the greatest number of people. That dictum is part of an ad hoc system of utilitarian ethics, can explain all sorts of mystifying decisions that Musk has made, not least his breakneck pursuit of AI, which in the long term, he believes, will save countless lives. Unfortunately for Musk, the short term comes first, and his company faces a rough few months. In February, the first lawsuit against Tesla for a crash involving autopilot will go to trial. 4 more will follow in quick succession. Donald Slavic, who will represent plaintiffs in as many as 3 of those cases, says that a normal car company would have settled by now. They look at it as a cost of doing business. Musk has vowed to fight it out in court, no matter the dangers this might present for Tesla. The dollars can add up, Slavic said, especially if there's any finding of punitive damages. So what do you make of that?
It is interesting to me that he's willing to fight it, because I do think that it would probably cost less to settle, you know, in the grand scheme of things. Either way, I don't really see how it's going to affect much.
Do you think the righteous fight, he views the fight as good for his brand? Like his personal brand?
Honestly, probably.
I don't think he cares about his brand.
Yeah, I don't know.
To borrow a term you just used a second ago, he like drinks his own Kool-Aid. He really believes that he is bringing upon the future, and the future entails, you know, the personal automobile, but autonomous. He is so fucking stupid that I can't even, I don't even have words to describe how fucking stupid this man is.
That's a good start.
He's voiced his obsession with, I forget what the app is, the Chinese app that it's like, you can do everything with this. It's kind of like
his vision for what he wants
WhatsApp
Twitter to be.
It's kind of like a WhatsApp, but it's like you can pay people like Square or Venmo, and you can do this and you can chat and blah blah blah, and it's like,
it's the internet.
Yeah, you know, just look. Also, China, who has absolutely fantastic public transit. You know, Japan is obviously like best known for like the high-speed rail and what have you, but just other countries that he's so obsessed with. It's like, yeah, they have infrastructure that supports exactly what you're trying to do, but without the affect of a personal automobile. Like infrastructure that could, walkable cities and bicycles and bus services and trains and, rail. It's like, what are you trying to solve for right now, bro?
Now, this is my ignorance coming out, because I've never been to countries with really good, public transport. But what does that look like in our area, right? Like let's say your commute, right? So you bullet train from the east side all the way to the west side, and like obviously it's not going to stop at every location, right? I mean, that would take forever. So like, and if it stops like several miles from your location, is that just like now you bus there, like from a bus stop kind of thing, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes there'll be a mix of different transportation methods. Sometimes,
I mean, I've taken the train in Canada, like from across the pond to Toronto, and it's a long trek. It's not a bullet train, obviously, but it's a long trek due to primarily just the majority of stops that they have to make. Right. And I feel like for a bullet train, it's like the whole point is to get from A to B really fast. I can't imagine that they have a lot of stops on a bullet train. maybe like a regular subway or a regular train, you know, to go to like the smaller stops. But I'm just curious like how that would work. I mean, obviously the infrastructure, we don't have it, right? So obviously the infrastructure would cost lots. But I could totally see them basically just eating a lane on both sides of 696.
It's less than roads, actually. Roads are the most expensive.
No, I know. I'm thinking more
options.
like putting it in. Like they could probably take a lane out of both sides of 696 for it in the middle, right? Something like that, and then lay the tracks. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, a lot needs to change, though. Like, a tremendous amount.
It's not just like putting the lanes in for the bullet train. It's like you need the train, then you need the transportation systems at the end of those stops, you know, and all that.
Yeah, and it's not something that's like new, though.
No.
If you look at the Netherlands, if you look at a lot of Scandinavian countries, there's way superior infrastructure for methods of transportation that would not rely on a personal automobile.
I mean, I
and
guess
they
even cities like DC. Actually, I've been to DC, and even using just using the subway there, that was so convenient.
Yeah, the metro in general, like just thinking about your infrastructure in a way that supports more than just a personal automobile will get you halfway there. You know, because all we care about, 98% of the money that we spend on infrastructure right now is dedicated to the personal automobile.
Yep. Driveways, garages, parking lots.
Super expensive
roads.
Too. It's just insanely expensive. Like look at our entire, like every suburb, every city in the United States of America, even the cycle friendly cities or the walkable cities. There's just so much, every bit of pavement pretty much is dedicated to a car. And it's not just a car. It's not a bus. It's a personal automobile that has one individual in it. Like most of the time.
There were plans for high-speed rail to be laid, I think, in 1965, and I think the maps exist of what that would look like. Yeah. And it was on this similar scale, I think, is the highway expansion.
I thought there was something a little more recent. I don't think it was high-speed rail.
There was in California.
No, in Michigan even. I thought there was something with Amtrak. There was some big push. I know over in Birmingham they had like the train stations or something like or around there. They were building them and then they stopped. Like they just didn't finish it or
because autopilot's coming. We don't need it.
I mean, this was at least 5 years ago, or 6 years ago.
Ever since Autopilot was released in October 2015, Musk has encouraged drivers to think of it as more advanced than it was, stating in January 2016 that it was probably better than a human driver. That November, the company released a video of a Tesla navigating the roads of the Bay Area with the disclaimer, the person in the driver's seat is only there for legal reasons. He's not doing anything. The car is driving itself. Musk also rejected the name Copilot in favor of Autopilot. That's good because you gave it to GitHub. Do you remember that video? Did you see that video?
I never saw that video, no.
That video was huge. Like that was my first real exposure to Tesla in general. And of course, like everyone, I thought it was fucking awesome. I thought it was really cool. You know, I was in high school and I think it was actually my brother that showed it to me, and I was like, that kicks ass. And you have that vision of just like, oh, I don't have to potentially get on a plane if I don't want to. You know, if it's like a really long drive, I just I'd sleep. You know, so all the wheels start turning, and it's like, oh, that stuff sounds cool. And to your point, of course, yes, rail is mostly that and better and way more efficient and safer and better for the environment and cheaper. It definitely was like, that's awesome. So I think that really shifted public perception in terms of like where the technology was at that time.
Yeah.
For the bad, for the worse, unless you were a Tesla shareholder.
I feel the interesting thing about the autopilot, you know, and people saying like, oh, I could just like take a nap or something like that. And let's say you could, right? Let's say that even if the technology itself was perfect, it's not going to smash into objects or anything like that. I feel that it's still going to have a huge problem with other drivers, right? Like you
not if they're all networked.
You can't go to sleep in a car unless all the cars are autonomous and networked together, because
I think there's a certain percentage that they're shooting for.
Well, either way, you still need to see, like, I mean, can you imagine that? Like everyone's falling asleep and then next thing you know, some dude in like a diesel rolling coal just like smashes into you because he like miss
Yeah,
stuff, or some new driver just like sideswipes your vehicle.
I mean, that'll happen even if you're awake.
Right.
though.
So
I know,
like,
but you
that's
can
the
react to
theory.
it at that point. But can you imagine, like, if
I mean,
you're-
theoretically, your
being
car would
sold,
be able
the
to
thing
react to
being
it.
sold here, like perfect self-autonomous vehicle, is such that you every time the sensors and the algorithms in the car would react faster and better than you would. That's the pitch. Like that's
I know that's
vision.
the pitch, but I don't know.
But you I know that you want to hold on to that, but in theory, like that's the and I don't know that we'd ever get there, but if that would be true, like you would be able to sleep even if you're the only driver because you had the confidence that with this much percentile, like you were sure that it was going to pilot the vehicle better than you would.
And my point is, even if we did get there, you're working backwards. You're
Right,
working from
that's
an
not actually what you should be working
inherently
on.
inefficient method. Yeah.
But Randy, how else are we going to burn billions in R&D dollars? Where else? We got to keep the money moving. We
could make the bullet trains even faster. We can make them go from 500 miles an hour to like
little missiles,
1,000 miles an
heat-seeking missiles that lock onto children and ram into them. That's the future.
They're still innovating. Japanese trains are still innovating. I mean, there's innovation that happens right now.
Look, man,
we're just not part of it.
Nobody wants to get on a plane.
$1 trillion.
Nobody wants to get on a plane with someone else's crying kid or someone listening to their Bluetooth speaker too loud. Or
you're boxed in though. Like you're talking about a plane that already is a private company that's trying to maximize their profits on some like 20-year-old. Or actually, the plane technology hasn't even freaking evolved since the 60s.
Yeah,
you could have a train that has a private, soundproof, MuTalk level.
Oh, MuTalk. We're bringing the MuTalk in.
MuTalk for everyone.
Room in it that you could work from with Wi-Fi and everything. I mean, these things exist. This is not like way out there. It's a hell of a lot less expensive than
bullet train
Tesla's
office.
Exactly.
You
could
VR on the bullet train.
Yeah,
okay,
you could.
Also,
VR.
I've got this vision in my head now of, you know how when you're on a plane and the cabin depressurizes and the oxygen mask come down?
Yeah.
What if you're on a train?
Happens to me all the time.
Yeah, I love that. I've lived dangerously. On a bullet train, if you are all in your little pods and like all your little hangout little zones in the bullet train, the cool bullet train that we're innovating on right now, if it got too loud in there's too much conversation happening, immediately MuTalk's deployed from the ceiling.
There you go. Exactly.
Strap
Everybody has to put them on.
So
it's a beautiful
please secure
idea.
your own MuTalk before helping others. Let's start a bullet train company. Let's do this shit. Let's do it for real.
These things already exist. Everything.
I promise you.
Except for the MuTalk's
we're
coming
not
from the ceiling.
Let's build Snowpiercer. I want to build Snowpiercer.
No, thank you. Have you actually
then
seen
have fun in
Snowpiercer?
Have fun in the it's you're on the train or you're dead in the snow. Those are your options. I'd like to.
You're
be on
also
the train.
dead on the train. Have you
I don't
seen
even know
that?
what you're talking about
Your
right
odds
now.
are better on the train. Your odds are better on the train.
Weren't most of the people on the train like basically slaves?
Now we're
Yeah.
getting really philosophical.
And then
What is happening? I don't even know what's
And then
happening.
and then they like overthrew the.
Is
yeah.
this an Avatar?
No,
thing?
this is a movie. It's a dystopian future movie.
Unlike Avatar.
Okay.
Hold on.
No, don't bring it up.
Snowpiercer is a
it's
2013
late. It's too late.
post-apocalyptic
It's too
science
late.
fiction
No.
action film
It's
based
too
on a
late. It's
French
11:30.
climate fiction graphic novel. Okay.
We're gonna cut all the
Hold
bit
on.
about Snowpiercer anyway.
The fine print made clear that the technology was for driver assistance
So
only.
late.
But that message received a fraction of the attention of Musk's announcements. A large number of drivers seemed genuinely confused about autopilot's capabilities. Tesla also declined to disclose that the car in the 2016 video crashed at the company's parking lot. Slavic's
Amazing.
legal complaint doesn't hold back. Tesla's conduct was despicable and so contemptible that it would be
Why do we even
looked
need
down
parking lots?
upon and despised by ordinary, decent people.
Yeah,
You
I
don't
like.
realize-
Real estate
trains clogging
dedicated
a
to
parking lot.
fucking parking lots.
I do like the point that he makes. You're probably gonna yell at me. I don't know if we got here yet, but I do like the point that he makes about how people didn't basically sign up to be beta testers.
But they love it
Yeah, I know, but like
because they're part of the cult.
But then the ones that don't are the ones suing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like obviously every crash, because I think that was earlier in the article, right, where he talks about how every crash just gives him valuable data
point.
to make better decisions and make the AI better. But people are like, yeah, I didn't sign up for that.
More blood on the altar of long-termism. The many claims of the pending lawsuits come back to a single theme. Tesla consistently inflated consumer expectations and played down the dangers involved. The cars didn't have sufficient driver monitoring because Musk didn't want drivers to think that the car needed human supervision. Drivers weren't warned about problems with automatic braking or uncommanded lane changes. The company would admit to technology's limitations in the user manual, which everyone reads, of course, but published viral videos of a Tesla driving a complicated route with no human intervention.
Randy, do you remember like 15, 20 years ago when Google had like the autonomous vehicles that they were testing out in like the desert, and it was navigating like rocks and shit, and it was like an SUV? They had a whole fleet of them like doing weird tests, and they got really, really good. Like, what the hell happened to all that? Because I feel like their stuff was far superior and more advanced than Musk's stuff is right now. Like, it's just like, what happened? Because like it's like we're repeating stuff. Like, we've seen this before.
They eliminated LiDAR from the Tesla, which I don't know why.
That might help solve your still object problem.
Exactly.
What is LiDAR?
It's laser radar.
Okay.
Right? Am I saying that correctly?
I don't. Probably
It's light radar.
It's the little sensor that sends out little dots to get distance data and like be able to map out.
It's like a Doppler kind of thing where it just like sends and returns, but they eliminated that because
actually have it.
I don't know if this is Musk or an engineer trying to create their own way of doing things. I don't know why they eliminated.
There were supply chain issues with the LiDAR sensors.
Okay.
As well.
I just feel like the technology hasn't really advanced that far.
LiDAR is actually really good, but the fact that they refuse to use LiDAR and rely instead on, you know, the more traditional car radar, which is, you have way fewer actual like points of contact that you can do things, and that they also like they just try to use image recognition, which is
it's a lot of cameras.
Probably the process that caused that bug. That it failed to recognize it.
Well, to be honest, if
the LiDAR,
you
can know exactly
if the police in the U.S. weren't camouflaged to blend in with the, with the surroundings, and they actually had bright colors, like so that people would know they're there. Maybe the car would be able to tell it's there too. Although the weird thing is, like he said, that it's going to sound stupid, but the objects don't, still objects don't move, or stopped objects don't move, or whatever he said. But I mean, the lights were fucking flashing. I mean, those are moving.
They point out that might confuse it as well.
Yeah, I know.
Because it thinks it might be a child with a fun, bright hat, and so it needs to hit it.
Yeah, shit's moving.
Musk's ideal customer was someone like Dave Key, willing to accept the blame when something went wrong, but possessing almost limitless faith in the next update. A generalized problem. Oh, going back to the Google car thing, I suspect that is similar to the GPT-3 thing, where they have the capabilities to put out potentially competing products. It's a risk thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just
so the math isn't working out for them. It's not productizable in a way that's meaningful, and then you also have the risk that comes in and offsets it.
What's odd is that they did this like so long ago, and they did have these self-driving cars, and like they were completely autonomous. Like there was no drivers in them at all, and it just kind of disappeared. And I could totally see that being a good reason for it. But now, with Elon, pushing this kind of stuff, you'd think that they'd be like, oh, we already did all this. Like, we could improve on it.
I kind of think a lot of them are totally fine to have him out there failing very loudly and like waiting in the wings, seeing like,
true.
Okay, basically letting him find all of the landmines.
Yeah, that's true.
In an extreme way, but I don't know. That's speculation. But I have a feeling that they have no problem being slower to market on some of that stuff since they already have existing car brands. So it's like, you're not really losing much market share to Tesla. Why luxury brand?
Why jeopardize our brand with something like that?
Yeah, so we'll have a wait and see.
Same thing. Yeah,
wait and see kind of approach. Once that flaming pile of shit is able to get something to market and is actually competing for market share, it's at that point that will be spurred to put something out.
I'm on both sides of the fence here, where I like and dislike the idea that my car can get remote updates. Like, it's very weird. Like, I think it's like good because obviously if bugs are in the system, it's good to get the bugs figured out. But
it's also bad because that's where the bugs come from.
Exactly.
The bugs are coming from inside the house.
Or the fact that it's just like, my car crashed in because I wasn't it wasn't rolled out to me yet. It's kind of, how like iOS 16, is like pushed in like different markets, right, at a time or whatever. Like sometimes you'll get it and I haven't even had the notification yet. And it's just like, you imagine that? Like, oh yeah, my Tesla, it wasn't rolled out to that yet. So
yeah, sorry, FSD 11420 has not yet hit my vehicle yet. It is incompatible with this road, and so that is why I
this road.
That is why
I didn't get the update for the latest Google Maps in my new FSD.
I'm in the water. After our failed left turn in Laguna Beach, Key quickly diagnosed the problem. If only the system had upgraded to FSD 1069, he argued, the car surely would have managed the turn safely. Unfortunately for Musk, not every Tesla owner is like Dave Key. The plaintiffs in the autopilot lawsuits might agree that the AI is improving, but only on the backs of the early adopters and bystanders who might be killed along the way. And then I editorialized.
That's such a weird mindset to have. Like, if only I had this update, this wouldn't have malfunctioned. Like,
you have
faith.
I
don't know religion. What is gonna.
It could have still happened. And the weird thing with
worse, you could have died.
Yeah. And the weird thing with all of these like these accidents and weird things that happen is it's like there are so many variables to it. Not as only is it just the software, but it's like, I mean, it's what time of day, the lighting, like there's so many other things that can go into like why this thing malfunctioned. Like so many. It's not just the code, it's so many other things. And it's like, oh man, if only I had like release candidate 14.2.1a instead of
you got to install the alpha.
Yeah.
If you would have installed the alpha, your son wouldn't be dead.
And what happens when like, and any software developer knows that like there's been releases that come out and then it fucks more shit up and you're just like, man, fuck, how do I roll back to A? Now I'm in C.
Yeah, they're do they
I fucking completely skipped B. I completely skipped B. Now I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy to me. It's nuts.
Online, there's a battle between pro-Musk and anti-Musk factions about autopilot and FSD. Reddit has a forum called r/RealTesla that showcases the most embarrassing AI screw-ups along with more generic complaints. I'm sure Randy will put some of these in there. Squeaky steering wheels, leaky roofs, haywire electronics, noisy cabins, stiff suspensions, wrinkled leather seats, broken door handles. The Musk stands tend to sequester themselves in r/Tesla Motors, where they post Tesla sightings, cheer on the company's latest factory openings, and await the next big announcement from the boss. I found David Alford on YouTube, where he posted a video called Tesla Full Self-Driving Running a Red Light. In it, we see the view through the windshield as Alfred's car approaches an intersection with the left turn lane that has a dedicated traffic signal. With a few hundred yards remaining, the light shifts from green to red, but the car doesn't stop. Instead, it rolls into the intersection where it's on track to collide with oncoming traffic until Alfred takes over. In the comments, Tesla fans grow angry with Alfred for posting the video, but he pushes back. How does it help put pressure on Tesla to improve their systems if you are scared to post their faults? Preach, Alfred. Replying to one comment, he writes that FSD is unethical in the context they are using it. When I called Alfred, I was expecting someone suited for r/RealTesla, but he ended up having more of an r/Tesla Motors vibe. He told me that he would be willing to take me to the site of his video and demonstrate the failure. This journalist is a serial Tesla rider I love it. Good work. He told me that he would be willing to take me to the site of his video and demonstrate the failure, but first I had to make a promise. The only thing I ask is try not to put me in a bad light toward Tesla, he said. I don't want anybody to think that I hate the company or whatnot, because I'm a very, very big supporter of them.
You also don't want the boss to maybe shoot like a kill version to your car and update it so that you die.
Of course, but it's like, he's not your boss. You bought a product from him, and it tried to kill you.
Yeah, but that is the weird thing. I don't know how Teslas get updated. I don't know if it's like automatic or if you have any control.
Well, the internet is a series of tubes, for one.
Now, I understand. Right, I'm just saying, like, I don't know if like you have any control over it or if it's just mandatory. Like, it just happens.
Rip out the Wi-Fi chip or the satellite.
Can you imagine like that just being yet another, like, can you see the military like, okay, we got this target and we need you to send like an auto self-destruct bug to that Tesla who drives the Tesla, just have it explode. Like, is that doable?
Probably.
Yeah, but that would technically probably be doable in any car that has any type of driver assistance programs, because if they can brake for you, they can.
No, I know. I know they have OnStar, which can shut down your shit. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. Like, can you imagine, like, there's just like this dark channel over at Tesla right now, and they just
we are
like,
trying very hard as a society
commands.
to make sure that when we're owned, we are owned. by a hacker.
And you don't want to publish the no-fly list.
Yeah.
No.
Alfred lives in Fresno, California. And before I went to meet him one day, Alfred's afraid he's going to get on it for this interview.
Mm-hmm.
Alfred lives in Fresno, California, and before I went to meet him one day last fall, he told me some exciting news. He had just received the FSD 10.69 update. Our drive would be his first attempt to navigate the intersection from the YouTube video with the new system. I cut this, but both this guy and the last guy are software developers, so not really painting us in a very good light. His white 2020 Tesla Model 3 had a magnetic bumper sticker he found on Etsy. It read, "Caution, full self-driving testing in progress." He had to buy that from it. Okay. He said he drives in FSD mode 90% of the time, so his car is always acting a bit strange. The sticker helped me keep some of the honking from other cars at bay. What a pariah. He seemed to be, like he, an ideal FSD beta tester. Interested in the software, alert to its flaws, dogged in his accumulation of autonomous miles. I climbed into the passenger seat and Alfred punched in our first destination, a spot a few blocks away in downtown Fresno. We were lucky it was overcast, he said, because the car behaved well in these conditions. On days when it was sunny out and there was a lot of glare, the car could be moody. And when it was foggy, and it was often foggy in Fresno, it freaks out.
So like
the perfect amount of cloud coverage.
So he drives it in this mode 90% of the time, but 90% of the time he can't actually drive it right.
It's fully freaking out most of the time. That's why you had to get the Etsy sticker.
So this actually goes back to my point about how there's so many fucking variables that go into this thing. It's not even just this. I mean, obviously it's the interpretation of the weather and all that and whatnot with the software, but it's just like there's so many things.
This reminds me so much of the F-35s that if it was raining, didn't have radar. Yeah. Something like that. Like just insane.
It's mind-boggling.
This is what we've been building to.
You know, if somebody bought a different product, if it wasn't a Tesla and they bought an iPhone that didn't work when it was too when it was too sunny out or when it was foggy out, people would be flipping their shit and sending it back and asking for refunds. But no, these people are just like, oh, it's just a bug with the software, and if I get like update 4, it'll work.
People do get refunds a lot. I think the perception of it is lower because of the bias of you're embarrassed that you did it and you're embarrassed that you return it. So you have no real.
I mean, I think what's even worse is that this feature is what, like $15,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like it's an add-on.
This specific feature that you're being paid to potentially put your life on the line.
Yeah, what's the point of a Tesla?
You should be paid for it.
Yeah, but like, what's the point of a Tesla?
It's the call to membership.
No, if that's not included.
I mean, it's still an electric car.
Yeah, but there's other electric cars. There's other electric cars.
Yeah, it's a membership.
Without this full self-driving thing, like Tesla's nothing.
I mean, they just buy into the whole cult of this new tech gadget, essentially, this glorified.
And Carl, Elon has actually said as much as that he's aware that the autopilot is the only thing, like the hype around it, and they're quote unquote lead in it.
It's like a $15,000 bet on a life roulette wheel.
Yeah,
yeah. And what do you get if it's and if it works out, you get to just be really nervous when you drive. That's a reward if it doesn't kill you.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
I think
driver has to be
these
alerted
people
all times because otherwise it might get moody and kill
of
you.
Other cars and also somebody. My car that hates the fog.
But ultimately, these people believe that they're part of history, that they're going to be the Henry Fords. You know, like if Henry Ford had a bunch of minions, they are part of that,
which he did,
contributing to the success of this new era of personal automobile.
This is literally just Despicable Me. That's what you're describing. Despicable Me.
Yeah,
Elon
I mean,
Musk
they believe in it.
And all of the little yellow minions are all of these
like
Tesla
that. Like the first guy that that the journalist was talking to, he had a list of benefits of autonomous vehicles, and they're safer and blah. They believe wholeheartedly that this is going to be transformative and save lives and be better for everything.
Yeah.
After a few minutes, we approached a crosswalk just as two parents pulling a child in a wagon began to cross. A screen next to the steering wheel showed that the AI had registered the two pedestrians, but not the wagon. Classic Tesla. Fuck them kids. Alfred said he was hovering his foot over the brake, but the car stopped on its own. After the wagon came a woman in a wheelchair. The car stayed put. Alfred told me that the automotive jargon for anyone on the street who is not a car or a truck is a VRU, a vulnerable road user. Fuck off. Have you heard that before?
No, that's the first time I've ever
Road
heard
unit.
that term.
That sucks. And it's true. Pedestrians and cyclists and children in strollers and women in wheelchairs, they are all so fragile compared with these giant machines we've stuffed into our cities and onto our highways. One wrong move and a car will crush them. So I think alluding to your sentiments there a bit, Randy.
Yeah. Yep.
And Carl. We turned onto Van Ness Avenue, which cuts through downtown. It had been newly paved, and instead of lines on the street, there were little yellow tabs indicating where the lines would eventually go. The Tesla hated this and dodged worriedly right and left, looking for something to anchor it. There were no other cars around, so Alfred let it get that out of its system and eventually find a lane to follow.
Yeah, this part bugged me because what I don't understand is this a 2-lane one-way road or is this a 2-lane road? Like,
one of those is much worse.
I know, and that's what bugs me about it, because they don't really describe. I don't think they described if it was a 2-lane one-way road or not, and I was like, you're just letting this fucking thing swerve back and forth to try and fix itself? Like, was this bumper bowling? Like, what the fuck is this?
Well,
exactly
Carl, you build a tolerance to the risks it takes, he said. Yes, it's swerving all over the place, but I know it's not going to crash into something. Still, the experience of the beta had changed the way he approached his own work.
But he doesn't know if it's not going to crash into anything.
No, he doesn't. Yeah.
No, he does not.
Oh, wait, he might, because he has the latest update. Oh,
Yeah.
but he doesn't.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have the latest update.
Well, you know what they say about the latest update?
Wasn't pushed to him yet.
It's almost.
No, this guy does. This guy has.
As soon as
the
it comes
latest.
out, it's no
right.
longer.
That's right. This guy does have the latest update.
Still, the experience of the beta had changed the way he approached his own work. It's actually made me, as a software developer, more hesitant to put my software in the hands of people before it's fully ready, even though it's not dangerous. I don't know. Don't sell yourself short. I'm sure you could fuck some people up. Seconds later, we drove through an intersection as two VRUs. Fucking God, I hate that so much. A man walking a dog entered the crosswalk. They were a safe distance away, but the dog started to strain against its leash in our direction. Alfred and I knew that the pet wasn't in peril because the leash would stop it. But all the Tesla saw was a dog about to jump in front of us, and it immediately attempted to ram it to death. No, that's not true. Preemptive strike. And it came to an abrupt stop. It was a good outcome, all things considered. No injuries to any life form, but it was far from a seamless self-driving experience. Alfred nudged the steering wheel just often enough that the car never warned him to pay attention. He didn't mind the strict driver monitoring. He never tired of studying the car's behavior, so he was never tempted to tune out. Isn't the point of this supposed to be that you don't have to pay as much attention?
Not when you're integral to their beta testing, man. You're part of the team.
Still,
to be fair though, like if I saw a dog,
you just pay your salary
like
in
that,
reverse.
I would probably
you
break
paid
too.
$15,000 to be part of the team.
Yeah, what was that, Carl?
If I saw like a dog, jerk like that, I would probably stop too.
Run it over.
No, I'd probably stop as well. I think he did the right thing in that case.
Yeah, a lot of the things that the journalist mentions, it's like
this is not a hit piece. This is a pretty accurate accounting of what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed that about the article. There was a lot of things that it was like, okay, this is kind of cool that it did that, but there was still so many things that I'm just like, I would not trust that.
Yeah, the underlying themes of the article is like
the whole article though. They're going to succeed. This approach will ultimately succeed. They're going to create fully autonomous autopilot cars, but in the end, it's like, again, to what benefit?
Well, and at what cost?
And at what cost? Yeah, it's just silly to me.
We're never going to get to your perfect utopia of bullet trains, though, right?
We already do. It's already existing in other countries.
No, we in the United States.
The United States, yeah, we're ass backwards.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. We can't even get people to like wear a mask in the pandemic times or take vaccines, let alone bullet trains.
Alfred nudged the steering wheel just often enough that the car never warned him to pay attention. He didn't mind the strict driver monitoring. He never tired of studying the car's behavior, so he was never tempted to tune out. Still, he knew people who abused the system, going back to Dave Key's point earlier about it being a solved problem. One driver tied an ankle weight to the steering wheel to, quote, kick back and do whatever during long road trips. I know a couple of people with Teslas that have FSD beta, he said, and they have it to drink and drive instead of having to call an Uber. That is the only good use case I have heard so far.
Seriously, yeah.
That kicks ass. There was a post that I saw. There was a post that I saw last week where they're like, leftists just want walkable cities so that they can get drunk and high and not have to worry about driving home.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Correct.
So
You're almost there. Keep going.
Do you think? I mean, I think I know the answer to this, but do you think that a person using the FSD fully self-driving feature
fucking sucks
when they're drunk, are they still operating a vehicle? Can they still get
definitely.
a DUI?
You'd 100% get a DUI. You 100% get a DUI.
Not a question at all. Yeah.
At what point do you think you wouldn't?
I mean, in the article, they point out that the person that was on the expressway and the expressway was ending and they crashed and killed, those two people.
Yeah, he got hit. Yeah,
they're getting sued, and then now there's another suit.
It's a suit against
Tesla
against them and Tesla. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you bear the responsibility.
Do you think there will ever be a point where you wouldn't get a DUI for that? Like a cop?
Yeah, if you were on a train and you were drunk.
So no, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. If
pointing this out to everyone listening. If you're on a train and you're drunk, yeah, you'll be fine. Given public drunkenness is still a thing that is absolutely absurd and stupid, and it's just another way for the state to control you. But you wouldn't get a DUI.
Yeah.
But as far as nobody really cares that much.
But as far as like the FSD and being drunk, most of the time the reason that you're getting a DUI is because you're driving erratically. Right?
Because the state is
because
overreaching.
Like an FSD car is driving around.
No, I'm just saying, obviously
officer not drunk.
You're either going.
The car just can't tell that box is not the wall.
You know what I'm.
It got confused. There was no lane markers.
But you know what I'm saying, right? So you're driving. You're driving. You're swerving, or you're going too slow, too fast, or whatever.
You're in a cornfield.
But for the most part, if FSD isn't feeling moody, or it's not drunk itself, then I could totally see that working as a solution.
Well, if we get to a point,
there's no reason for a cop to pull you over.
Yeah.
If there's no suspicion. I'm
confident that we'll get to a point where it won't be a DUI if you actually use a full autopilot. It's going to get there. It might take 30 years. I don't know. Maybe even shorter. I mean, Elon is it's going to be next year or whatever.
Well, it was last year or 2 years
ago. It's going to get there. It's going to take a while. It's going to take all these crazy cultish weirdos that are beta testing it and paying $15,000 to beta test it. I mean, it's absurd, but it's going to get there. The whole thing, though, to me is just absolutely silly. The whole fucking idea is absolutely absurd because you're
these people will pay $15,000 to beta test this shit, but wouldn't pay $15,000 in their taxes for their lifetime for public.
$15,000 buys you a car.
I'm just saying
a nice car.
It does actually, but I'm just saying for if you put $15,000 into public infrastructure, and if you asked anybody to do that, they'd be like, no fucking way.
That's the thing, though. There already is. They already are putting all that money into public infrastructure.
Oh.
That they can only take advantage of.
Their taxes are also going to the Tesla that they bought, in the form of subsidies.
Well, even beyond that, I mean, the roads, the most expensive infrastructure that we have currently are the roads and bridges that we're building for personal automobiles, primarily for personal automobiles. I mean, there's still shipping and buses and stuff, but they're such a tiny, tiny percentage of what, transportation is usually accounts for, which is personal automobile. Everything else is just this augmentation, the fact that you're riding your bicycle on the street. No one made that street for your bicycle. People don't even fucking make the sidewalk to walk on. It's just an afterthought.
I don't know if that's true, Randy. Because I believe roads and streets started with horses. Well, feet, then horses. Feet, then horses, then bicycles, and then cars were made, and now
it's so far beyond.
They stole it from us, Randy.
They did steal it, but they dominate it now.
Yeah, they do.
Everything is dominated by the personal automobile. The fact that we have these giant surface parking lots everywhere to park a fucking giant piece of steel thing.
It's really absurd. It's really stupid.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
And you look at some of these areas like malls, for instance.
Yeah.
You look at a mall and you look at I understand one day out of the week, Saturdays, right? Saturdays or Sundays is those parking lots are probably 80% full. Sometimes really even more, but the majority of the week, those things are almost empty.
Yeah, but the
There's
fact that
so
they're getting
much
used
space.
isn't even that. Like, I reject them even existing in the first place.
Exactly.
But then,
We've
but then, yeah,
drained
to your point, Carl,
swamps, cut
to your
down
point, Carl,
forests,
not only do we build
filled
them,
in rivers.
are they a response to a shitty problem that has been created? To your point, Carl, then we just mostly don't use most of them most of the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's
they're
insane.
just sitting in your garage for the
Well, yeah, that but also the parking lots. Yeah.
Even for the worst commutes, like my commute was 45 to 50 minutes one way. It's like I'm still gonna, when we were working in the office at PetSmart, still gonna sit there for like 8 hours a day, and drive for that 50-minute, and that was a shitty commute. But I'm this giant thing that takes up so much fucking space, takes up more space than some people's homes, and I'm like driving it there, just parking it. It's just like
and you literally use it 20% of that day.
Of that day, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like 10 hours. It's about 10 hours total, and you're not and you're using it for like 2 hours.
Yeah. And our solution to this is like Ford is talking about having like leasable vehicles that would drop you off at your destination and then round the block for all the hours that you're working and then pick you up. That's your fucking solution? Like, that's your fucking solution?
About to say, so that's insane. What I was going to say is that there's like, barring everything else, obviously we should have walkable cities. The distribution, the population density should be not what they are. And then you're able to do more with public transportation. But for the last mile problem for certain things, everyone not owning a car and instead it being like there's a fleet of them that are just kind of in a neighborhood, they're autonomously driving people around the destinations. Like, that's interesting, and that is a potential where you're reducing waste because you're not everyone has a car.
Just had like buses and trains.
Most of the time. No, for sure. But those like individual it's better than nothing if you had the tech for it, right? But the problem with that is that nobody is really thinking in those terms. Like, everyone is still kind of want like everyone, because the car doesn't exist because the car is like the best option in most places. There are some places, really rural, communities, whatever. But in most cases, it's not the best option. And all of this other shit is just like band-aid solutions to keep this like very emotional thing where like the
we're
car
brainwashed.
has freedom. The car has freedom. The car has...
And that whole thing, the car has freedom, is a marketing
That's
tactic.
advertising right there, baby.
Yeah.
The car is more expensive, is a big ball of stress for most people. It's just a fucking thing to worry about.
Yep. And I would say probably the average cost of a car, probably almost like a third of a mortgage.
Yeah.
Like over time, like even including like the base cost and then over time with maintenance and insurance and gas and just regular, obviously wear and tear maintenance type stuff too.
Your regular, just the ownership of a car, the total cost of ownership is very expensive.
We left downtown and got on the highway, headed toward an area northeast of the city called Clovis, where the tricky intersection was. Alfred pulled up his FSD settings. His default driver mode was average, but he said he has found that the two other options, chill and assertive, aren't much different. The car is just really aggressive anyway. For highway driving, though, he had the car set to something called Mad Max mode, which meant it would overtake any vehicle in front of him if it was going even a few miles per hour slower than his preferred speed.
See, I would have called that BMW mode.
Being a little shit mode. We exited the highway and quickly came to a knot of cars. Something had gone wrong with the traffic light, which was flashing red, and drivers in all four directions across 8 lanes had to figure out when to go and when to yield. The choreography here was delicate. There were too many cars to interweave without some allowances being made for mercy and confusion and expediency. Among the humans, there was a good deal of waving others on and attempted eye contact to see whether someone was going to yield or not. We crept toward the intersection, car by car, until it was our turn. If we were expecting nuance, there was none. Once we had come to a complete stop, the Tesla accelerated quickly, cutting off one car, turning across us, and veering around another. It was not so much inhuman as the behavior of a human who was determined to be a jerk. That was bad, Alfred said. Normally, I would disengage once it made a mistake like that. He clicked a button to send a Snapchat. He clicked a button to send a snapshot of the incident to Tesla. Valuable data. Later, at a 4-way stop, the car was too cautious. It waited too long, and the other 2 cars at the intersection drove off before we did. We talked about the old saying about safe driving. Don't be nice, be predictable. I've never actually heard that, but that's pretty good.
Yep.
A few miles down the road, we reached the intersection from the video. A left turn onto East Shepherd Avenue from State Route 168. The traffic light sits right at the point where the city's newest developments end and the open land begins. If we drove straight, we would immediately find ourselves surrounded by sagebrush on the way up into the Sierra. To replicate the error that Alfred uncovered, we needed to approach the intersection with a red left turn arrow and a green light to continue straight. On our first pass, the arrow turned green at the last second. On the second pass, though, on an empty road, the timing was right. A red for our turn and a green for everyone else. As we got closer, the car moved into the turning lane and started to slow. It sees the red, I said. No, Alfred said. It always slows down a little here before plowing through. But this time, it kept slowing. Alfred couldn't... It always slows down a little before plowing through. Me too. But this time, it kept slowing. Alfred couldn't believe it. It's still going to run the... It's still going to run the light, he said. But he was wrong. We came to a tidy stop right at the line. Alfred was shocked. They fixed it, he said. That one I've been giving them an issue about for 2 years. So apparently, targeted bug report for this specific intersection for 2 years and still nothing.
Do you think it just had an issue with like an arrow? Like maybe it was too sensitive. Like it was too sensitive on like normal stoplights. I would say, it's like a full solid color circle, right?
So did he just admit to running this red light every time for the last 2 years?
Yeah, maybe it's just something about how the lights are situated. Maybe they're not like absolutely parallel to one another or something. I don't know.
So fucking dumb. Like seriously, like that's a basic.
Well, you do it. You do it then.
Everything he's describing is just a basic fucking.
Yeah, but I mean, we could probably Google the intersection and take a look at it. I mean,
you could add that. Just add that into the.
Pull that up, Jamie. Pull that.
Just add it into the cut.
Pull up the light.
That's
it's a normal fucking intersection. Look at that.
But what's weird is how many fucking intersections that are normal, like this one, are out there that people are having issues with but aren't reporting.
Yeah.
Good
question.
Another thing that would kind of be tricky would be dealing with like local laws, right? For instance, Chicago, I know North Dakota, you can do U-turns at intersection lights. You cannot do that here, that I know of. None around here, at least. Would it know to do that, or would it know that it's allowed to do that?
I think that would be a function of GPS, and I know from experience, and I've got a ticket for this, for GPS telling me to make an illegal turn that I was not paying enough attention to realize myself. There was a sign posted that if you were coming from a specific direction, you couldn't make a turn there, which I think is fucking stupid. Whatever. Sure. I'm not a logistics guy. I don't plan roads, but my GPS told me to do it. So in this case, it's still a GPS. It just happens to be controlling the car.
Yeah, and then if it does it, then what?
Right.
You're liable for this illegal.
Right, you are.
Yeah,
you have to take control when it's going to make an illegal maneuver, which completely puts out the fire of like the use case of this is like
which goes back to my comment earlier. No matter what happens with this FSD, it's always the driver's fault.
Yeah, you're going to take
if you crash into something, it's your fault. If you run a red light, it's your fault.
Which it should, because it's a personal.
You paid $15,000 for this.
Yeah, that you wanted you wanted independence. You wanted personal responsibility and control. That's what. There you go.
It's a fucking mess.
Your fault. We waited patiently until the light turned green, and the Tesla drove smoothly onto Shepherd Avenue. No problem. On the drive back to the center of Fresno, Alfred was buoyant, delighted with the possibility that he had changed the Tesla world for the better. A few minutes later, we reached a rundown part of town. Alfred said that in general, Tesla's AI does better in higher income areas. Maybe because those areas have more Tesla owners in them. So, all right, good. The Teslas are also classist as fuck, which is appropriate.
That would be so fucking ridiculous.
I mean, it's because they're getting more testing data. That's what he's implying.
That's the implication,
yeah.
Yeah. We approached an intersection and tried to make a left. In what turned out to be a repeat of the Laguna Beach scenario, episode title, the Tesla started creeping out, trying to get a clearer look at the cars coming from our left. It inched forward, until once again we were fully in the lane of traffic. There was nothing stopping the Tesla from accelerating and completing the turn, but instead, it just sat there. At the same time, a tricked-out Honda Accord sped toward us, about 3 seconds away from hitting the driver's side door. Alfred quickly took over and punched the accelerator, and we escaped safely. This time, he didn't say anything. Send that data.
Yeah, why didn't he send that data?
Send the Snapchat. Send the Snapchat. Send the data.
Yeah.
It was a rough ride from there. At a standard left turn at a traffic light, the system freaked out and tried to go right. That's the opposite of what you would want it to do, if you're paying attention. Alfred had to take over. And then, as we approached a cloverleaf on-ramp to the highway, the car started to accelerate. To stay on the ramp, we needed to make an arcing right turn. In front of us was a steep drop-off into a construction site with no guardrails. The car showed no sign of turning. We crossed a solid white line, milliseconds away from jumping off the road, when, at last, the wheel jerked sharply to the right, and we hugged the road again. This time, FSD had corrected itself, but if it hadn't, the crash would have surely killed us.
I just want to say that the author of this is ballsy as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, one, to like hear all of the issues that these people have had with their cars, and then to get into these cars with these people to recreate these situations. Like, that is insane to me.
The rest of the article talks
you.
about ethics, interviews.
Well, and it does touch on where he rents a Tesla to try to recreate a scenario, and
that did kill 2 people.
Yeah, that did kill 2 people, and the car is fine. I mean, it stops or whatever, but
it's
the guy
harrowing.
is nuts.
It's interesting. The one thing that I do want to talk about, because we're just cutting this time. The rest of the article, you should read the article. It's really good. The rest of it talks about ethics and all that kind of stuff. But the one thing I do want to touch on is the claims about safety. The numbers that we were given at the top, the claim that was made is that it's safer now already. And the data bears it out, right? Like Tesla claims
than a human being driving a car.
Any human being. And let's talk about graph crimes for the stats people. So what they've done with the most famous data sets that they pull from is they compare regular fatalities to Tesla self-driving data. The skew there is that the vast majority of the Tesla data comes from highway driving, where you're already much less likely to experience crashing. And the other data is just all traffic, side streets, intersections, everything. That's one thing that if you start to adjust for that, if you then let's compare it to just highway driving in the general regular population. Okay, well, the lead goes from 10 times to like 2 times. Like it's only twice as safe. But then you start to adjust for age, because Tesla drivers skew not very young and not very old. You start to adjust for that, and it starts to basically even out.
Yeah, and then the third adjustment is the age of the vehicle as well.
Oh, so right, yes.
People who drive older vehicles are more likely to get in an accident or crash than people who drive newer vehicles. And most Tesla drivers, it's like a 2-year-old vehicle, if that.
Yeah.
And you correct for all those things, as you should, if you're being
honest.
Which you're supposed to be honest to a fault.
Hey, and how many Tesla models are there?
They're the same. They're what?
How many Tesla models are there? Are there just the 4?
I think so.
Is it just the S? I know.
Model 3.
But is it just the S3, XY?
X and Y. Yeah, I think.
That's it.
There's the Roadster, I think, but
because I have to wonder, like, if a model gets X amount of years old, right? Is it still able to get the software updates, that it needs to, like the safety updates? Like, I feel like that could be another thing.
That'd be awesome if they didn't.
But I'm just like, at one point maybe it can't. You know, like
it's like we have this life-saving patch that we're not going to get.
Yeah, that we can't get to you because you
gotta get a new car.
It's kind of like phone software, it's like at a certain point you can't have the new update.
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
Well, the battery technology that they use is the same battery technology they use in your phone, which starts decharging and starts.
Yeah, but it's not battery technology that I'm talking about. It's just other stuff.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, these cars have a limited lifespan.
Yeah,
limited shelf life in general. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we've milked this person's work for all it's worth.
You're not gonna have like a 1952 Chevy, of a Tesla.
No, but like
it's never gonna last.
But the thing is because these are, I equate these cars less to other vehicles as I do to more just like computers.
Yeah, they are
computers with wheels, and technology, moves so quickly, and computers get outdated in 6 months, probably faster than that if we're being real. But every 6 months, you're pretty outdated. So I could totally see like things like this technology moving pretty fast. Maybe it's not 6 months fast, but I could totally see a 3-year-old Tesla being like basically you could equate to that like a 30-year-old Chevy.
I would love it if, like, even in the Tesla community, they're like, "Oh, those things are a death trap."
Yeah, but that's what I'm wondering. Like, is there a point where like you can't get the patch due to something? You know, like
I mean, that's the thing though. Because you're doing the over-the-air software updates, if you can't get a certain safety package, they might just shut down autopilot. So you can't.
Yeah,
can't
and you're paying $15,000 for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now that's probably just up front, right? That's not like a.
Or you paid $15,000
that's
for
an upfront thing.
It doesn't matter.
I think it's a hardware thing, maybe. I think it's a hardware
Okay.
install. But not to say that they wouldn't also charge them.
Yeah, they'd be like, no, can't do it anymore.
They could like maybe like there's something that they changed the way that they do it. You know, with.
I mean, the highway safety is investigating them right now, so there could be a regulation that says no, you can't have this version is done. Like you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, and I see that
$15,000 that's actually equivalent to a drug deal now. You're going
and I see that happening a lot sooner with something like a Tesla than say like, you know, having an emissions thing done on a car. You know, I just feel like that's such a weird thing. Obviously it's new, right? It's still not somewhat novel, so we don't really know all of these things, but just being in software, you know, it's like these things come to mind.
Yeah.
Yes, some of you may die, but that is a risk we are willing to take.
That Elon is willing to take.
Elon is willing to take.
I think that's as good a place as any to wrap up. I think I'm sorry about this, Randy. I'm sorry that the edit's going to take you 15 hours.
We have a YouTube channel, and I forget what it is.
YouTube.com /@ we do crime.
And voicemail. We do crime.
We do crime.com /voicemail.
/voicemail.
And episode 20.
Episode 20 is done.
That was that.
Can we get a .gay top level domain like Maya has?
2.5 hours of content for Randy to whittle down.
I want a .gay top level domain, which I didn't even know exists before I
we
saw
do crime.gay.
The hacker Maya's.
Okay, I'll work on that.
If we make a we do crime.gay, can we change the color theme to the rainbow theme, like a rainbow?
It's really busy. It's really, we have to do it tastefully.
It doesn't have to be busy. It just multiple colors.
Are you saying that rainbow flag is not tasteful?
Well, I'm not as like, not if your primary color is all of them on your website.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Now watch this drive.
So we have to protect our genius.
We're not selling anybody's data. Now watch this drive.
I have a son. He's 10 years old. He has computers.